think in a way, I feel like this ship has just sailed a little bit for me.
The vibe from the conversation was you're a sweet girl, but no.
How shit would you feel? A guy literally said that to you.
I do feel bad.
This seemed like a filler episode. It seemed like, like unseen bits or something, because it didn't have the sort of punch that all other episodes have had. So it was just boring to watch. Do I feel sorry for Harmony? Not really. Not really. She made her bed. It's time to lay in it. She should have spoken to people before she chose Andy. Andy had been with Nakia in a couple. They seemed very happy. And I think she thought karma would come for Nakia and Nakia would go home and then she would ride off into the sunset with Andy. But sadly, she made her bed. She did make her bed. And she sadly lost him. Well, it is what it is. Nate and Georgia, I don't get the argument. Personally, I think Nate was being reasonable. If you really work, and you work 4 or 5 days a week, you have no time to see someone every single day unless you live together. So that argument, I didn't get it. But anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much to everyone who subscribed. We're on our way to 1,000. Click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, we'll be reviewing Love Island Australia, Season 5, Episode 24. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm really trying. Anyway, so you have Nate and Georgia have this conversation, in the hideaway. They're sort of discussing how many times they want to see each other a week. And I get where Nate is coming from. If he has to go to work, if he has friends, family that he needs to see, 3 times a week is not bad. If he had said once a week, that's bad. He said it depends on the week. It's not constantly going to be 3 times a week. Sometimes it will be 4, sometimes it will be 5, sometimes it will be 6, because he also needs his own sort of personal space, which I understand. And Georgia, I think Georgia has to be understanding to some of the aspects of this relationship, in the sense that in the villa, they got to spend 24/7 together. Whereas in the real world, she will have a job or college or whatever, or university or whatever she's doing at 21. Nate has a job. He's got clients. He needs to, I think he's a personal trainer or something like that. So he will have clients who will come in at different times. So if he needs to get income in order to sustain his lifestyle and also to sustain her, then he needs to work. And so unless they live in the same sort of area, it's going to be very difficult for the two of them to make time to see each other every single day. Talking every single day, I don't think will be a problem. But I think seeing each other visually is going to be a problem. And to have that sort of expectation is unrealistic. If he had said to her, I can only speak to you 3 times a week, then we would have a problem, because you have a smartphone, you can talk, text, you can chat, whatever you want to do, you can do. So that's, to me, would have been a no-no. But seeing each other 3 times a week, that's not bad. Maybe it's because I'm an introvert, so to me that sounds quite a lot. Anyway, you have Sav having this conversation with Clint, and I'm sort of questioning, does he really like Sav or does he not? In his confessional, he says he really likes Sav. So I hope for Sav's sake he does like her as much as he's making out that he does. Their conversation seems smooth. She doesn't have to be very, provocative and very crass in her comments. I haven't even heard her make any of her suggestive comments at all since she met Clint, which is good for her. Anyway, the girls get ready for the night. And for me, I think, this is my thought, I think Lucinda and Zach wanted to sort of be the standout for the night. And the fact that they were overshadowed after their girlfriend-boyfriend proposal by, the text for Nate and Georgia to go to the hideaway, I think they didn't like that, because you could even see it on Lucinda's face that she felt like, it appeared as though she felt like it sort of stole their thunder, because everybody was supposed to be celebrating them. So she had to look for some sexy lingerie to go to bed with Zach because she's his girlfriend, and it's like, please, Seriously, why? Everybody's just been here trying to get Georgia ready. Now you want someone to help you get ready. And the fact that she needed the black robe and this is not working. And it's like, why would you want to do that in a room full of people? Why not create a scene for yourself and your boyfriend on the daybed and go and sleep outside? Why do you have to have each other sort of be all sexually dressed and everything? And then she struts into the bedroom and says, oh, I didn't get the reaction I wanted. What did you want, Sherlock Holmes? What did you want? You wanted everybody to stand up and cheer for you. No, they're not going to do that. They've done that for someone who's gone to the hideaway. That's enough. And for Sav to say, oh, why have the hideaway when you can bring the hideaway in here? And it's like, that's not it. I think she's trying to steal someone else's thunder, and sadly it's not working. And also, Harmony, we saw this coming. We all saw this coming. She's been forcing a conversation with Andy, and Andy's been avoiding her, and that should have been enough for her, because I think Andy feels like she wouldn't be able to take it. She made a mistake. She should have gone for Trent, but anyway, they wanted to eliminate someone, so she decided to go for someone who was already happy in his couple. Of all the guys she could have gone for Reed. Reed has been hopping like a bedbug from person to person to person. Andy came in, was with Nakia, stayed with Nakia. Even Abby said Andy is making it seem like he's shut off, he's not interested in talking to anyone else. So the idea that Harmony felt like she could turn Andy's head, poor thing, because now he's told her that I've never felt that click, which means to me, after that whole commotion with Nakia, he realized, nah, home is best. This one will throw me under the bus, so I'd rather go back where I know I am well protected. And shame. It was sad to see Harmony cry. She was crying under her quilt, and what do? You asked for it, you got it, so you have to deal with it. So in the morning, well, Nate and Georgia, obviously, the gripe is this: I want to see you every day and I want to see you 3 times a week. But they come from the hideaway, and their little sister, Nate's little sister, is quick to say, oh, do you guys feel closer? Everybody that's been to the hideaway say they come out feeling very closer. And then Nate was like, yeah, we do. And so the thing is, that fight, I don't get it about the how many times they want to see each other. Anyway, you have everybody else in the villa. You then have, obviously, as soon as she walks in, Georgia goes to Nakia, because they've been more or less sharing a bed part-time with Nakia. And then everybody else jumps into that bed outside of Lucinda, and I don't know where Lucinda was, and Harmony. And then the girls start discussing, that something happened between Harmony and Andy. So there's that speculating on what happened, because the beds are very close to one another. And Nakia is there just eating it all up, because the girls are sort of telling her that they broke up last night. We didn't quite hear the conversation, but we definitely know they broke up. And it's sad for Harmony. I think it is sad in the sense that she liked this guy, and sadly this guy broke up with her, and I feel she's responsible for the breakup. I know people have different opinions, but that's how I feel. I feel Andy feels guilty, but I also feel Harmony is responsible for the breakup of that relationship, because he does offer to her some coffee. He said, I made you coffee, I put it in the fridge. I think he's just trying to be sweet to her, because we've already heard from Nakia that Andy is a people pleaser, so that's not surprising. Anyway, the boys then go outside and they start talking, and Nate is sort of having a conversation with the boys to say, I am worried about the outside world, because I said to her I want to see her 3 to 5 times a week. And all the boys were shocked, because they were like, how are you going to make so much time to see someone? And so when he said she wants to see me every day, they're all taken aback, like, how do you see someone every day? And that's the truth, though. If you're working 9 to 5, by the time you get home, you're exhausted, you want to rest, and you want to prepare for the next day. And so for her to expect him to go to work and then come and see her after work doesn't make sense. All the guys agreed that 3 was quite reasonable, because if you're off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's 3 days. That's enough time for you to socialize with her. And if she goes to work, unless you're living together, there's no way you'd be able to see someone every single day. And so it's nice to see that the boys are on the same wavelength with Nate, that he's not saying he doesn't want to see her, but he's saying he also wants time. he's got friends. He'll want to socialize with his friends. He's got family. He'll want to see his family. He's got clients. He'll want to see his clients. So the idea that he would be able to see her every single day doesn't make sense. I think Georgia, before she gets upset, needs to actually go out into the real world and see how that sort of functions, that 3 to 4 times, 5 times a week, and see whether it's something that she can sort of agree with or not. Because I think people then panic about this outside world life, and they end up sort of making rash decisions because they can't sort of compute how that will sort of become a reality. And also, I don't get the favoritism for Savannah and Clint, because Savannah receives a text to say that, you know, she's going on a date with Clint. And it's like, there are couples that have been in the villa for a long time that have not gone on a date. Why didn't we send Nate and Georgia on a date instead of sending them to the hideaway? Why haven't we? Well, Tyra and Kale had their date the first time, you know, when he came back. But still, even Nakia and Andy, why didn't they get to go on a date? What criteria did Savannah and Clint meet in order to qualify for a date? Make that make sense? But hey, she's excited. I'm happy at least something positive is coming out of this for Savannah, because she's really been through it. So that's great to see. Sav and Clint's date, I think, was cute. It really looked cute. Obviously, they seem to get along. So, and the fact that Clint was impressed that Sav remembered his friend's name. Sav is a very intelligent young lady, so I'm not surprised that she would remember that. And she was talking about reading everything under the sun when she had a goldfish at one time. So I'm not surprised that she would remember things like that, especially if it's someone that she likes. He found it very endearing. I hope he's as serious about Sav as he makes out, as I've said this multiple times. Nate and Georgia eventually sit down for a chat. And I think Nate is cut down on his dates after speaking to the guy, because initially in the hideaway, he said 3 to 6 times a week, and then he comes back with 2 to 3 times a week, because the guys were saying 6 times or 3 times is a lot, and so he's cut down by listening to the people around him. And I don't know why. I wish he had gone to her and explained to her, I work Monday to Friday, this and this and this and this is what I do. So I work so many hours, my clients come in this many times because I'm a personal trainer. Some people come after work, so I will be busy. So this is why I'm saying I'll definitely have 3 days to see you, but other days I might not be able to see you because of what clients I have coming in. I think Georgia would have understood that. But the fact that he's just telling I'll be able to see 2 days a week, this is what is confusing for Georgia. And it was sad to see that she's had this conversation before with her ex. So I think this is why she thinks it's just history repeating itself. I wish they could sit down, and I wish they could have an open conversation. Yes, it was open, but I wish they could actually explain each other's schedules to one another. That way they see that maybe this is not realistic. He says he really likes her. He hasn't said he doesn't like her. So I hope she's understanding on that part. Kale wanted to hear the outcome of the conversation, because I think the guys are the ones that went to that sort of advised him that give her less days. That way, if you give her more, it seems like, wow, that's amazing. You actually said 2 and you've actually seen me 5 times. I think this is what the guys were thinking, but it seems to have backfired. I really don't want Nate and Georgia to break up. I need Nate to win the season. Anyway, the boys and girls start getting ready for the night. Sav is still reminiscing about her date and she's on cloud 9, which is good for her. I really love this for her. Oh, Tyra's toast was cute, but we didn't really get to hear anything of it. And then Harmony is playing out of her league. She really is. I think she's realized that Andy likes the fact that Nakia is fiery and she's outspoken, and she's trying to be that, but she can never match up to Nakia. She can never match up to Nakia, because they're standing there and she went, oh, we're the love triangle, the throuple. And Nakia's just there, just looking at her, just waiting for her to say whatever she wants to say, because she knows obviously Harmony is hurt, and she's hurting because she really liked this guy, and this guy is not feeling her like that. And so I don't know, we'll see how that plays out. Nate and Georgia then sit down for a conversation, and it seems the producers are very messy. So they showed us the fight, but they didn't show us the explanation, because it seems soon after Georgia walked off, her and Nate sat down again for another conversation before the conversation in the evening, because she said, I like the fact that you came to me immediately afterwards. And so they must have had another conversation where Nate was able to clarify what he meant, because somehow Georgia now understands what Nate meant and that she shouldn't use her anxieties or bring them as baggage into her new relationship. She has to take Nate for the man that he's presented himself to be to her and sort of know that he's totally different from her ex. So the producers are shady. We needed to see that conversation before this conversation in the TP, and to see them, they really like one another, and I'm hoping this really works out for the two of them, because you can see that they really like one another. Anyway, Lucinda receives a text message. So the text message talks about the boys doing the stripper challenge, and it's like, what about the girls? Are the girls not participating as well? Are they not raising heart rates? What is it? Anyway, first up is Andy. And Andy knew what he was doing. He was respectful of the girls that he knows are in couplings with his friends. Obviously, Tyra said, bring it on. So he went in. And then everybody else, he was very respectful. Even with Harmony, he tried to not sort of give her the wrong impression. He put her hands in his mouth and sort of said, I made her rub my tummy, and that was it. And then he went all in on Nakia. He's really grafting Nakia, and Nakia had an amazing time. So that was cute. It was cute to see, because the rest of the boys were nervous because they had to watch him perform and they knew they were coming in after him. And interesting. Next up was Nate. So he started off with Lucinda. It makes sense because he wanted to finish off with Georgia. She was sitting on the other side. And it was cute because his trousers, I don't know why they gave him trousers that wouldn't rip. So he was struggling to try and rip these trousers and they wouldn't come apart. And then he finished off with Georgia. He left all the girls shooketh because you could see that Tyra's jaw was on the floor. Chloe didn't know what to do with herself. Lucinda, was that admiration that I saw. I think she was regretting her decision to leave Nate, but I think it was cute. Georgia apologized to her parents, but she had an amazing time, so good for her. Next up was Kale. And I don't know whether it's the editing, because you could barely see much, but Lucinda was complaining that, all he did was sit on people. Tyra appeared to appreciate that, so that was good. And he seemed to have a great time. I think all the guys were nervous. I think they should have done a both sexes challenge, whereby maybe the girls would have gone first, and that way the guys would have been more relaxed, because they seem very nervous. I think this is the first time they've done this on Love Island Australia. I haven't seen it before, but anyway, it was cute. It was really cute. Next up was Clint. I didn't even see what Clint did. Apart from sit on the girls, nothing else. There was really nothing standoutish about his performance. He did his best. Sav was impressed, so that's the only person he needed to impress in the group, nobody else. Reed was last. He was a pilot. I think they should have given him, one of those uniforms or one of those equipment that the people wear to defuse a bomb. I think that's what he should have worn. Think he should have played on that, but he tried his best. And the fact that he kept pulling all these snacks out of his pants, poor girls had to hold on to the snacks, but he did his best. And you could see that, Chloe was impressed. She was impressed. He tried to copy, the same move that Andy did, whereby he sort of sat down and had Chloe straddle him. And Zach did the same thing. He tried to copy Nate because he had, Lucinda lay down and tried to grind on her. And it's like, oh my God. And poor Tyra's face, every time people went the extra mile, you could see she was shooketh to the core. She really was. So Chloe gets to read the results. Am I surprised by the results? Not really. I think the producers were being messy in some of them, and in some of them I think they were just trying to boost some people's ego. That's all I'm going to say. Because Lucinda's heart rate was raised by Andy, and that's shocking for me because they've never had a conversation. There's never been any sort of romantic interest in that. And so I would have thought if anyone raised the heart rate, it was Nate. But hey, it is what it is. Georgia's heart rate was raised by Nate. Am I surprised? No. Because she's still having flashbacks from, the hideaway, and we all heard the sound in the hideaway, so it's not surprising he raised her heart rate. Tyra's heart rate was raised by Zach. No, that was a boost for Zach's ego. I'm sorry. I don't buy that, because the way she was shocked when she saw what Nate was doing to Georgia, or the way she was shocked when she saw what Reed was doing to Chloe, that would have raised her heart rate higher than Zach. Zach didn't do anything that's impressive for me to say that's the reason why he got her heart rate up. Savannah was raised by Clint. I think the producers are trying to sell Savannah and Clint as a couple. That's the impression that I'm getting. But hey, it is what it is. Hannah Harmony's heart rate was raised by Reed. Am I surprised? No, not really. She seemed, well, I am surprised really, because she seemed more flushed after Andy performed, because she really likes Andy and she was saying, what do I have to do in order to win this man? And nothing. Chloe felt some type of way. You could see by the look on her face. She didn't understand why Harmony's heart rate was raised by Reed, so that's going to be a problem. Nakia's heart rate was raised by Andy. Am I surprised? No. After the way he lifted her up in the air and made out with her, yeah, he deserved that. And then Chloe's heart rate was raised by Reed. Am I surprised? Not really. It makes sense, because Chloe hasn't been interested in anyone else outside of Reed, so that does make sense. So after the heartbeat challenge, the guys sit down with their girls and sort of just catch up about the challenge and everything that's going on. And for me, Zach is a completely different person from the person he was with Trent around. I think he's now very insecure, and so he's trying to be as sort of accommodating or patient or sort of acceptable to people than he was since Trent was in, because he was very arrogant, he was very outspoken, very disrespectful. And he's a born-again man. He's a totally different man to what he was then. He was talking to, Lucinda about the challenge and how, her heart rate was raised by somebody else and what went on there. And it's like, it is what it is. The producers were just being messy. They were expecting drama from the two of you, and yet nothing happened. He is really broken since his other half is gone. So this side, I prefer this side of him to what he was when, his other half was still there. You have Andy and Nakia sit down for a conversation, and it's like, poor Harmony. They flash over to Harmony on the terrace, sort of watching, and it's like, well, what did she expect? What did she expect? She should have asked people. I think she expected a situation similar to Nakia and the Kale and Andy love triangle. I think she expected one of them to be kicked out, and once the person was kicked out, she expected herself and Andy to ride off into the sunset. But sadly, that didn't happen, because none of the islanders would have sent Nakia home. And so because Nakia is still around, Andy knows he prefers Nakia. And I remember there was a time when she was sort of saying, Harmony, this man, I don't know. It seems as though I am the reason why we didn't work out. He didn't even give me a chance. And it's like, he was willing to give you a chance until you threw him under the bus. Once you threw him under the bus, he realized you were not it. And that's what sort of put him off. Had you called him aside and said, okay, what are we going to say about this decision that we made, and had a conversation with him, I think she would have stood a chance. But she threw him under the bus, and sadly she lost him. He and Nakia are now in paradise. I think they're going to sleep on the daybed, because Nakia was saying she doesn't want to sleep alone. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Harmony after all this. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Reed and Chloe, they are on cloud 9 as well. Chloe is excited. She really enjoyed, what Reed was doing. They were a happy couple. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see what happens to the two of them. It will be interesting, because Reed, for me, we haven't really seen his growth. We haven't really seen him do or say anything that shows us that he's now the best version of himself. So I don't know. We'll see. It seems like next episode there's going to be a whole lot of trouble. And the producers like to be messy, so we'll see what happens and who is eliminated. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys.